Okay, everybody, I'm just going to get right into it. Now, if you're at all familiar with the Bible, the age old question, at least one of the big ones, seems to be what is Mystery Babylon? Well, a lot of people think it's Mecca, some people think it's the Vatican, but I am going to show you proof, biblical proof, that Mystery Babylon is indeed America. About 8 years ago, Sherry Shriner put a compilation together of over 100 Bible verses to prove that Mystery Babylon is, in fact, America. See, so many people ignore the Bible, what it says about last days prophecy. But if they understood what it really said, they'd be able to align current events with it. Now, most Christians do not know the Bible. They rely on their minister to teach them. They are too lazy to pick up their Bible during the week. And as I've said before, they feel guilty just enough to show up again the following Sunday to make up for what they did during the week. Now, if they picked up the Bible, they could find out this on their own. But like I said, they'd rather hear it from their minister, not knowing that their minister is there to control the narrative. And like I said before, the church seems like a fountain of information when it's really a dam to keep information hidden. Now, they don't have any idea what the Bible foretold some 2,000 years ago, and even longer before that with older prophets. They keep saying, America's not in the Bible. Prove it. Where's America in the Bible? Okay, well, like I said, I'm going to show you in the Bible numerous verses, and I'm going to include the link in the description so you guys can peruse it at your leisure and look things up in the Bible yourself. And don't rely on man to teach you. First, you look at what the Old Testament prophets foretold. And then look at what the Apostle John in the book of Revelation foretold. Now, like I said, Sherry put this together to hopefully open people's eyes. Because, again, they're listening to snakes in churches. Most people don't believe that God has judgment on us. They believe America is a favored nation, and their egos are going to get knocked down quite a bit. If they could see America in God's eyes, they would hide. They would run and hide. And that's what we're going to go over, because I want to clear up any confusion as to who or what Mystery Babylon really is. Okay, in the last days of the Bible, it talks about a dominant city that is a major center of commerce that will be destroyed in 1 hour. Now, an hour can be a short space of time, or literally 60 minutes. Heaven isn't linear, so time doesn't exist there. Okay, the churches, they're going to focus on telling you that Mystery Babylon is the Vatican. And that's absolutely wrong. Now, Father Yahweh showed Sherry several years ago, before even this was put together, which was 8 years ago. So let's look at a decade. How Babylon is, in fact, America. Now, to hold the view that this Babylon is referring to the Vatican you basically have to ignore 98% of scriptures referring to it and hold to one verse. That can be easily discredited because of a misunderstanding of one term in one verse that can easily be clarified. Now, before I go on, please don't get me wrong. The Vatican is still a very, very evil place. In fact, it's Lucifer's playground. I'm not saying that the Vatican's free and clear of any evil here, okay? I'm just not focusing on the Vatican on this video. But yes, the Pope is satanic. The Vatican is completely evil. That is how warped the whole Vatican theory is that most churches and prophecy gurus preach when it comes to Revelation chapters 17 and 18. Why would that be? Why do they focus on somewhere else instead of where the Bible is really speaking of? Well, consider this. The former prophets all warned of this coming great Babylon. Now let's look at what each one said about it. What I'm going to do is go through some of these older prophets in the Bible before getting to John of Revelation chapter 17 and 18 to clarify America and the last days prophecy. Now, do you really think the one superpower, America, would not be mentioned in the Bible for last days prophecy, like the church gurus will tell you? And trust me, I use the word gurus loosely. That's what they call themselves. They're just fools. They're snakes. They're supposed to do that. They are doing their job for Satan. Let me repeat myself. They are doing their job for Satan. Now, if Christians would just wake up and realize they would no longer be under the traps of Satan, but trying to wake up the bride is like talking to a brick wall. They are so steadfastly stuck in their indoctrination ways, especially with they won't budge on Paul. They think Paul's the greatest thing since sliced bread, not realizing that he wrote half the books of the New Testament to infiltrate the New Testament. But I'm not going to get into Paul in this video. If you want to find out about him, I have several previous videos on him if you want to take a look at that. Now let's see what Isaiah said about Babylon. Babylon would be noted for its architecture, buildings, skyline. Babylon America is the lone superpower of the world. It's the most respected and envied around the world, and yet at the same time is hated by the world. If that doesn't describe America, I don't know what does. It has a unique and remarkable beginning, different from other nations, and has been awe-inspiring from its conception. In other words, it was conceived in the future. It didn't already exist during Isaiah's time. Now, this nation would spring up in the far future and begin its existence then. Babylon would be a queen among nations. Babylon would be an end-time great nation. Babylon is called a lady and has a symbol of a lady. Liberty on our money, sits in the harbor. Even though, again, the Statue of Liberty is hiding in plain sight as the fertility goddess Ishtar. Babylon is a republic or democracy. It is ruled by many councils. Again, this is Isaiah. Babylon's governmental system breaks down. Babylon is bogged down with deliberations and cannot govern properly. Now, Babylon is a nation of religious confusion. Think about it. We let every single religion under the sun into this country. People think, oh, well, we're a melting pot. We just, anybody can come here and praise any god they want to. No, they can't and they shouldn't, but it's allowed. The king of Babylon is called Lucifer, the Antichrist. Now, Sherry's always said that the leader of Babylon would be the last day Antichrist. But just don't assume it's going to be the president of the United States. Now, it could be the president of the United States, or it could be somebody else, like the leader of the UN, United Nations. And where is the United Nations located? Anybody? Bueller, anybody? Their headquarters, anybody? New York City. The king of Babylon will rule from the great city Babylon. Again, New York City. A world government entity will rise up to rule the world from Babylon. Now, most people question whether this actual great city itself is New York City or Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. is the seat of our government. However, the real government behind the government, as in shadow government, deep state government, cabal, is the money bankers in New York City. This entity will rise up and use the military power of Babylon, the nation, to rule the world. Babylon is a nation of higher education and learning. And we have thousands of colleges and universities here in America. So I think that describes it pretty accurately. Babylon is a virgin nation. Her land is untouched by major war. Our whole country has never had a war on our own soil, which, in other words, been invaded by foreign troops. We always take it to their soil. Now, most people are going to say, yeah, but that's just to make sure that we don't have to fight on our own land. That's what they want you to think. They don't want you to know that we're infiltrating other countries and overtaking them. And usually it's through false flags that get people on board to think, yeah, we need to attack them. They just did this to us, not knowing that who's really behind the false flags. Babylon's enemy will lie on the opposite side of the world. The enemy of Babylon will be noted for her cruelty. The people of Babylon would think they are God's elect and eternal. Didn't they pick that one? Let me read that again. The people of Babylon would think they are God's elect and eternal. They think they are God's chosen people. The nation Babylon dwells carelessly before the Lord. Carelessly means they're in sin, heaviness. Babylon becomes proud, haughty, and does not consider her end. That pretty much describes America to a T, because most people just never think that the good life is going to end. Babylon deals in the occult and sorceries and drugs. Again, that was Isaiah. Let's hear what Jeremiah said about Babylon. Babylon would be the center of one world, Luciferian religious movement. Ever heard of New World Order? Babylon would be the youngest and greatest of the end-time nations. Again, since it wasn't found in biblical times, it's a young nation. Babylon would be the most powerful nation in the world. Babylon would be the hammer of the whole earth. Again, that's what I'm saying. They go in and infiltrate and take over countries. False pretenses, even though they make it look like it's legitimate reasons through false flags. Babylon would be the praise of the whole earth. Babylon is a land rich of mineral wealth. Babylon is the leading exporting nation of the world. Babylon is the leading importing nation of the entire world. Now, does this sound like the Vatican to you guys? Come on. Babylon is the leading industrial nation of the world. Babylon has a huge aviation program. Isaiah mentioned that as well. Babylon's skies are filled with whispers of aircraft wings. Babylon has a huge space industry. Babylon is portrayed as a leading in high-tech weapons and abilities. Babylon is a coastal nation and sits upon many waters. Babylon is a nation filled with mingled people. Again, melting pot. We have this open kettle, open immigration to where now Americans are almost a minority in this country. Babylon is a single nation founded upon out of many. Babylon was born as a Christian nation. Again, the cult Christianity created by Paul. Refer to my other videos. Babylon turns upon its heritage and destroys it all in the end. Babylon's Christian leaders lead their flock astray in prophecy and salvation. Now I'm going to read that again. Babylon's Christian leaders lead their flock astray in prophecy and salvation. They are lying to you. They are leading the people astray, and not just in prophecy, but in salvation. Now, people think all they have to do is pray a 30-second salvation prayer and their name is written in stone in heaven for eternity. But what does Yahweh say? His people do things he tells them to do. They hear his voice. They do what he tells them to do. Now, is there anything that Father Yahweh has ever said about just doing a 30-second prayer? It's always faith in actions, showing your faith through good works, which includes following Torah law. Babylon's Christian leaders are strangers in the Lord's house of worship. Strangers. That means Yahweh doesn't know them. He doesn't even count them as his. And yet Christians, week by week, every Sunday, flock to these strangers to get what they think are teachings from the Bible. Babylon sets up detention centers for Jews and Christians and round them up for extermination. Let me read that one again. Babylon sets up detention centers for Jews and Christians and rounds them up for extermination. Sounds like another genocide to me. Ever heard of FEMA camps? This is in the last days, and one of the very things, and many others, like me, have been warning about. The martial law that's coming to America, you can count on it. And like I said before, there is no mass pre-trib rapture. That's a lie. All these Christians that think they don't have to pay attention because they're not going to be here and they're just going to be swept away before anything really goes down, they're being deceived. For the most part, they're going to be the ones rounded up and thrown in FEMA camps because they're going to be left here. Babylon has a mother nation that remains in existence from her birth to death. That would be England, our mother nation. Babylon will have the symbol of the eagle and builds her nest in the stars. Now, who else has a space program as we do? And Babylon is a huge producer and exporter of automobiles. Babylon is a nation of craftsmen, experts in their trade. Babylon is a nation with a great voice in world affairs. Babylon will be instrumental in the setting up of Israel in the Middle East. It is the home of Yah's people. It doesn't mean the entire nation of Yah's. Babylon will have a major enemy to her north. The enemy of Babylon will also have a huge aviation military machine. Babylon will have all of her borders cut off, and there will be no way to escape. Babylon would be a home to multitudes of Jews who leave. Now, that one right there, to be a home to multitudes of Jews, that's because when the Jews, primarily the 10 lost tribes of Israel, were released from slavery captivity in Egypt through Father Yahweh, they scattered amongst the nations. And America was one of the big nations that they scattered to. So they lost their true identity and they don't even know they are Israelites. And ultimately the tribe of Judah, which is where Jewish derives from, also scattered. And there are more Torah Jews in New York City than there are in the state of Israel today. This is one area where Sherry got so much hate mail over. Because if you talk about America being Israelites, the true Israelites, the true Jews, the true Jewish nation, they go into all kinds of conspiracy theories and then call you a hate monger or even a Nazi or whatever. But that's exactly what we are. We are former Israelites. That's what the Bible says. That's what Jeremiah foretold. They would not know their true identity. So what do? They get caught up in man-made false religions. And the irony in all this is the bride is primarily Israel. And if you've been following my other videos, the current day Israel is controlled by fake Jews. So who does the church want us to support? Ironically enough, like I said, with the bride being primarily Israel, they expect Israelites who've lost their true identity to support fake Jews in their homeland. Is that sick and twisted or what? That's how Lucifer works. The people of Babylon would grow mad upon their idols. Babylon plays a leadership role in outer space exploration. Now, if you think we know anything from our government about our real space program, you're just kidding yourself. There's so much out there that we've never been told. Portals, I mean, they don't even need spaceships, space shuttles. They travel through portals. I mean, all that's for show when they launch any kind of space shuttle or rocket or anything. That's all for show when traveling to space. According to Sherry, even Mormons have a flagship UFO starship in the sky. We're way more advanced than any of us can imagine with what's been going on up there. People think Star Wars is fictitious. It's not. Babylon is where the world leaders meet and assemble. Again, the United Nations is located in New York City. Babylon incorporated many aspects of the old Babylonian religion. Now, if you haven't figured out that America is all of this by now, I don't know what to say. It's clear cut. It's in the Bible, all over the Bible. There's no other nation in the world that fulfills all these requirements except America. Now we'll go through some that John in Revelation talks about. Babylon deals in the occult and sorceries and drugs, just like Isaiah talked about. The people of Babylon would go into deep sins of all kinds. That's pretty obvious. The people of Babylon would think they are gods, elect and eternal, just like Isaiah said. The people of Babylon would enjoy the highest standards of living. Even though we think we're free, we have it better than most in this world, if not all. But freedom is not what we think it is. Babylon will be destroyed by fire. Now, if you remember the covenant that Father Yahweh made with mankind and Noah, that he wouldn't destroy the world again by flood, and he used a rainbow as his symbol, he didn't say anything about fire. Babylon is a vast land with huge cities, towns, and villages. The enemy of Babylon will also have a huge aviation military. And what's north of us? Russia. John and Jeremiah pretty much said the same things about this last day, Babylon the Great. Now, Babylon is a huge producer and exploration. So, I mean, everything that you heard before with Isaiah and Jeremiah is pretty much what John's saying. They had similar visions, including that Babylon turns on its own people, imprisons them, and slays them by millions. It's a huge export in music. It's noted for their cattle, filled with warm water seaports. I mean, the list goes on and on. If that doesn't sound like America, I don't know what does. It's considered intoxicating for its high society lifestyle. Come on now. That's totally America. It's noted for its elegant and extravagant lifestyle, importation of drugs, And in the center of world trade in gold, silver, copper, oil, precious gems, clothing, fashion, lumber, I mean, all of it is America. There's no other city or nation on earth that could fulfill these requirements other than the United States. Now, there are some who hold to the view this passage is referring only to New York City. In fact, it refers to both New York City and the entire nation. The term city is translated from the Greek, means city or nation. Now, in this instance, it refers to a nation led by its chief city, which is New York City. So in some instances, it's talking about New York City, and in others, the nation itself. But it's covering the spectrum. Now, if you're not convinced by all that, like I said, I'm going to include the link in the description so you can read it for yourself and go into the Bible and do your discernment. Look it up yourself. Don't trust any man by their word. But that's over 100 qualifications that qualifies America as last days Babylon. Now, don't you find it amazing that there are over 100 prophecies that only one superpower nation in the last days could fulfill? And the churches tell you today that America isn't mentioned in last days prophecy? What does that tell you? Neither does the Vatican fulfill these prophecies. I mean, that's just a joke. The lone superpower now is the United States. And in the last days, which we are in, the lone superpower of the world remains the United States. There isn't enough time for another nation to rise and fulfill all these requirements and become the lone superpower of the world. Now, many scholars claim that the Roman Catholic Church is Mystery Babylon based on one verse in Revelation chapter 17. But that has been misunderstood. Mystery Babylon is the United States. There's no way around it. And once you realize this, you soon learn how dominant America is in the last days prophecy and what the truth is regarding America. Revelation 17, verses 1 through 4. America, the great whore, with whom the nations fornicated. Anyway, like I said, the link is in the description if you want to view it and research it further, which I do recommend because it holds a lot of invaluable information that she's condensed onto one page where you don't have to do all the research yourself. I mean, you're never going to hear this information in church. You're never going to hear any mention that Mystery Babylon is the United States. And again, it's because church is actually a dam to hold back secrets, more so than a fountain of information. The sooner you realize that, the better off you'll be. And the sooner you remove yourself from man-made religion and seek a relationship with Father Yahweh, the better off you'll be. Now, pride gets in the way. People think there's no way I'm deceived. It's just not possible. The sooner you accept and surrender to the fact that you've been deceived like everybody else, including me, I was right there with you. But I also put pride aside and sat at Father Yahweh's feet and asked him to reveal all truths to me. And he has. And he'll do the same for you. All you have to do is ask. Refer to my video if you haven't already, entitled, Is Church a Fountain of Information or a Dam to Hold Back Secrets? And I'll explain that more there. Well, I think I've taken enough of your time for now. I'm going to try to keep these as short as possible because I know attention spans aren't what they used to be with all the distractions in this world, which again are purposely made so people don't seek the truth. They're too busy watching sports, watching award shows, watching the newest blockbuster film, playing who knows what video games these days. Playing with their new iPhone 10. It's all distraction, people. So you never have time to do what you really should be doing the entire time, is seeking the truth. Anyway, thank you for your time. And again, if not me, who? And if not now, when? Stay vigilant and fear no evil. Yah bless.